Well, another battle has broken out in Donald Trump's cabinet. This is the least coherent and cohesive cabinet I've ever seen, and we're only about 5.5 weeks in. Now, the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, is fighting it out in public with Kash Patel, the FBI, over the Jeffrey Epstein files of all things. Jeffrey Epstein, why are we releasing the files to the public anyway? There's a public need to go through the flight logs. There's a public need to go through his masseuse list. There's a public need to go through, like, here's the people that were on the plane, in addition to Eric Trump, Marla Maples, Tiffany Trump, and Donald Trump, who are all on that list. Why do we need to know this? The victims are working hard with their lawyers to try to recover compensation from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. There are victims that have sued the FBI for having effed up the investigation. And now's the time for Pam Bondi to waste my time, your time, taxpayer dollars, to release the files. 99% of which have already been released in cases like the Ghislaine Maxwell case, who was his buddy and his madam, who put together all of the underage rapes that Jeffrey Epstein participated in. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. I got to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and the files and the way, more importantly, what it shows about how the Department of Justice and the FBI are not really getting along well together. And somebody just peed in the sandbox. Let's get to it. To much fanfare, Pam Bondi, because Donald Trump told her to, was going to release all of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Except we already know there's thousands of pages of it. We covered it 2 years ago on Legal AF during the Ghislaine Maxwell criminal trial when most of those documents came out. The flight log, the masseuse list, the phone book. We've seen all that. There's no new information in there. There's a small group of documents from a 2019 raid by the FBI that I don't think we've seen, but people that have seen it have reported that it's nothing new. The reporter who broke the story for the Miami Herald made it clear there is no customer list that Jeffrey Epstein kept. Like Bill Clinton had a sexual, raped a young girl. There's no list like that. There's a flight log. It tells you who was on the island, he had a big island. He had a private plane. A lot of rich people and famous people and politicians, when they didn't know what he was doing behind closed doors, participated in it. The only person other than there's two, other than Jeffrey Epstein who's ever been accused, is a constitutional law professor, Alan Dershowitz, by one of the victims, and Prince Andrew. That's it. Everybody else, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Don Jr., Eric Trump, Marla Maples, the first wife, Tiffany Trump when she was a little kid, that all went on the plane. Donald Trump who went on the plane. There's no other, information, although we would take special delight if there was. But yet Donald Trump makes this like it was some sort of campaign promise. Promise kept. But then you have Bondi fighting it out with Kash Patel. She had to send a letter demanding that she got a tip that within the New York field office, there was more information. She only got 200 pages and she understands there's thousands of pages. Of course, there's thousands of pages. We've seen the thousands of pages in the Ghislaine Maxwell criminal trial when she went to jail. So when you got the 200 pages, didn't you think, this seems a little light for the Jeffrey Epstein files? Now, if you go on the website, for instance, they have links to the following. Let me read you from the Bondi letter, which is all performative art. It's not real. Dear Director Patel. Oh, here we go. Got my attention already. To Kash Patel. Before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. So you asked them for files before he was in office. All right. In response to this request, I received 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs and Epstein's list of contacts and victims' names and phone numbers. None of which can be released without redaction, by the way, even by this administration. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents. I learned from a source in the FBI field office in New York that New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and the indictment. Exactly. That's the pages that were released in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Despite my repeated requests, you never disclosed the existence of these documents. I'm demanding more documents by 8 a.m. February 28th to deliver a full and complete set to my office. I appreciate your immediate attention. Then Kash Patel took to social media and said, Yes, we're going to get to the bottom of it. And then they released an evidence list, came from a case, a flight log, which was in U.S. versus Ghislaine Maxwell. Actually, every document listed here, the flight logs for 5-6 sets of them, the contact book, and the masseuse list redacted. Can I just show you what a redacted masseuse list looked like? So this is the information that has been released to the public. Okay? We don't even have to reproduce it. I'm just showing you right here. It's just 6 pages of black tape. That's the redacted, list. Let me, in case you were wondering, the contact book ain't much better. Okay. You're not going to be able to do much analyzing. I defy anybody to do any analyzing off of this list. Right? This is what she's released. All right. So a couple of questions, just off the top of my head. Why are you wasting the taxpayers' time and money with this nonsense? You know, the justice system is still at work. The FBI is being sued by the victims. The victims are suing the Epstein estate. Epstein is dead. Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. Prince Andrew's been disgraced and kicked out of his house. I mean, you know, justice in various forms is being done. And what's the release going to do? We're going to create cyber sleuths of everybody to go through those big black redaction tape to go figure out what happened in the case. We all know what happened in the case. We know there was 100 famous people and A-listers, B-listers, and C-listers that used to rub elbows and with Epstein. We know that already. What's the new information? The only new information for me is the lack of complete coherence within the Trump administration. I mean, you have already reporting today, it's on the Midas Touch Network, so let me get this straight. Before, as an example, before Vladimir Zelensky came into the office today to talk about the Ukraine peace deal, after he had already met with Putin, J.D. Vance, which I was going to send out a search party for him. He should be on the back of the milk carton, but he was there. And Donald Trump had a discussion before meeting with Zelensky in which they said they're going to publicly bash Zelensky in the Oval Office. This is the lack of discipline and the untrained mind of Donald Trump. There's no executive function in the executive branch right now. None at all. And this is just another example of it at every cabinet level position. That's the only thing we got going for us here. The moderates, the liberals, the free thinkers, the progressives, is that this group can't execute on their plan without screwing it up, which is what we're seeing in the 100 court cases. So we'll continue to follow it all. The saga of Jeffrey Epstein, which I thought was really, the lid was really put on it after some victims brought their cases, sued the FBI, sued other people, you know, sued the Epstein estate, sued and the rest. I thought we're sort of put this to bed already. Why do we have to continue to roil, no pun intended, the waters here and get people more upset? You know, victims' rights should be protected. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us continue to grow this pro-democracy channel. I'll see you on my next hot take. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.